Good morning. It's Sarah with Coffee and Crochet with Sarah, formerly known as Live with Sarah. Alrighty, well, in case you don't know, we changed the name to Coffee and Crochet with Sarah because I'm always drinking coffee, and check out my new coffee mug, powered by coffee and yarn. That is the truth. Good morning, Michelle and Linda and Heather and Marlene. I'm so glad to see you all popping in today. Now, if you're watching this over on our YouTube channel, I film it live on Posh Pooch Designs Facebook page at 9:30 almost every Tuesday Mountain Time because I'm south of Denver in a town called Parker. Now, I was afraid I wasn't going to get to do my live video this week. I got up this morning, it was freezing cold, and I took the dogs outside. I mean, it was so cold I could see my breath. That's how cold it was. And I thought, oh, rats, it's cold today. Well, then I go back in and I'm working on the computer, and all of a sudden it gets dark as night. It's thundering, it's lightning, there's hail balls falling from the sky. And I thought, oh man, the electricity flickered. So I real quick posted, I don't know if I'm going to get to do my live video. We'll see. 15 minutes later, the sun is shining and it's gorgeous outside. Colorado is trying to do all the seasons in one day, every day. I won't complain. I still love living here because it's absolutely stunning. All right, let's say hello to everybody. I see Kimberly popped in, and Tracy and Amanda, Tina Louise and Talana. Let me move this down here. Karen and Jane, Vicky, Linda, and the other Linda, Melissa, Tina, and Tina. I got 2 Lindas and 2 Tinas. That's awesome. Caitlin, Liz, and Dawn. Ruby, Michelle. Oh, I already got you, Michelle. Michelle says it's 30 degrees there. I think, are you in Wisconsin? I can't remember, or Michigan. Anyway, it's a cold state. I tell you what, our kids are out of school and they can't even go up into the mountains because we've had so much snow and so many landslides that tons of the roads are still closed up there. My grandson and granddaughter are coming to visit in about a month, I guess about 3 weeks. And they're so excited because we're going to take them up into the mountains, and they're excited about seeing snow. Oh, wow. It's gorgeous. I mean, really. I wanted to show you all my brand new cup, but first let me see if anybody else popped in. There's Jennifer and Rhonda and Crystal. Check out this new coffee mug I got. Powered by Coffee and Yarn. I got this at Hobby Lobby. Well, my friend, it's Sara that does Repeat Craft for Me. I believe her name is Sara. Well, anywho, she was posting about some really neat stuff she found at Hobby Lobby. And the thing about a lot of the yarn stores, you know, Joann's, Michael's, Walmart's yarn section, all the other ones, they normally just have like cups and things that are yarn related, but they only have knitting needles in them. Well, I like to knit too, but I'm mostly a crocheter. And so I found a couple of cute things. I want to show you those real quick, and then we'll get into our discussion. Check this out. This is a keychain, and if you look real close, I should have taken the wrapper off that silly thing. It's causing glare with my automatic focus. Let's pull that out of there so you can see it better. There we go. Look at that. It is a crochet hook. I'm so excited about that. Just FYI, I'm keeping this. The other really cute thing I wanted to show you is these socks. These are adorable. They're yarn ball socks with sheep. And I love it. They're like pastels. And there isn't a crochet hook or a knitting needle, but they're just adorable. So I picked those up for myself. And this adorable cup. Powered by Coffee and Yarn. Let's everybody clink in since I got my cup up. Clinky, clink, clink. And if you don't know what we're doing when we're clinking in, we're just saying hello. And remember, you don't have to drink coffee to watch Coffee and Crochet with Sarah. You can grab a glass of wine. You can grab a glass of sweet tea. I love Oklahoma sweet tea. I am originally from Oklahoma. Well, I was born in Iowa, but we transported ourselves, or whatever you call it, to Oklahoma when I was like, I don't know, 3 or 4. And I grew up in Oklahoma, and I claim that as my home. And there's a lot of wonderful things about Oklahoma that I love. And one of them is the Oklahoma sweet tea. Kids learn to drink sweet tea straight from the bottle, I'm telling you. There are 2 things I don't love about Oklahoma. The tornadoes. I've been on the phone a lot lately with my family down in Oklahoma. And then the other thing I don't like about Oklahoma are the June bugs. Those things fly all around. They get in your hair and they stick on your shirt and they're freaky. They don't hurt you a bit. They're just crazy. But they do have the best fireflies down there. Or lightning bugs, whatever you want to call them. All right, so enough silliness, okay? I was talking to one of the girls that follows me on YouTube, and she said she loves how I call out everybody's name, that it reminds her of a show called Romper Room. Well, I have to admit I didn't know what that was. I don't know if we just didn't watch it or what. And so I went in on YouTube and I found some. And she holds up a mirror, I think, or a circle. And she calls out the kids' names on their birthdays. I thought that was the cutest thing. So if you post your birthday, I'll call out and say happy birthday to you, okay? Because I like doing that. That's fun. All right. Does anybody have any birthdays today? I'm going to look through here. I don't see any yet. Hey, if it's your birthday, put it on here and I'll call out your name here on Facebook. Now, of course, when we get over to YouTube, I can't because, of course, it's, pre-recorded. All right. So I'm going to take a little sip of my coffee so my throat doesn't get dry. And those of you who are asking, I'm feeling a bunch better. I still have a little bit of that residual cough, but I can get past that. I'm feeling a ton better. And one of the neat things is I lost about 12 pounds. And so I'm really happy about that with summer coming. I just may get into my bikini yet. Nobody wants to see that. All right, let's get into our conversation. Enough silliness, huh? Let's get into our conversation about tension and gauge. And I get questions every week. I made such and such pattern, whether it's mine or somebody else's, and it was too big, or it was too small, or it was too short, or it was too long. And really, the key to getting your patterns right and your things correctly done is, of course, measuring, but also understanding your own tension. Okay, so I'm going to click down over to my other screen. I got a pile of things here I want to talk about. All right, so here's my other screen. And I thought it'd be easier so I could show you up close. All right, now, the first thing we're going to talk about is just tension. And what tension is how tightly you crochet and hold your hook. If you are a loose crocheter, your tension is going to be loose. If you are a tight crocheter, it's going to be tighter. All right? And that's really what tension is. And a lot of things can affect your tension. If you're watching a scary movie, it can cause me to stitch tighter. If you're watching, say, a movie about happiness and wonderful things, maybe a musical or something, and you're just crocheting along, sometimes your tension can be looser. And also, the things that are in your life every day, if you're going through something traumatic, maybe you've lost a loved one, or you're going through a medical issue, it can cause you to be stressed up, and it can cause you to tighten your tension. And so you can be working on the same project and your tension change in the middle of the project. All right, and that happens sometimes, but that's basically what tension is. All right, it's how tightly or loosely you crochet. All right, that's just tension. Now let's talk about gauge and gauge swatching. If you look at your basic yarn, you'll notice that it has some boxes. All right. This yarn is just your basic Red Heart Super Saver. It's one of the pretty stripes. It's a number 4. Next to that box, you'll find 2 more boxes. One box will tell you your gauge or how to make a gauge swatch with crochet. The other one will tell you how to do it with knit. And you'll notice, if you can see this, this is a medium 4, and it says 12 single crochets by 15 single crochets, and you're going to use a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Now this one is a little smaller and it's hard to see, plus it's black and white. I wanted to show you this one. This is Red Heart's Hygge yarn, and the label's a little bit easier to see. And you'll notice this one is a 5, so it's a chunkier or bulkier yarn. And this one tells you you need to use a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. And it also tells you that you have 11 single crochets by 13 rows. And what that's telling you is that's how to make a gauge swatch of that particular yarn to see if you're stitching it tightly or loosely. All right. So now that we understand what that means, how do we do it, right? All right, let me move these out of the way. And I've got a gauge swatch here that I started. All right, so if it's telling you to use an eye hook, and this is just basic Red Heart Super Saver yarn, and I've got an eye hook here, which is a 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. All right, it's said to stitch 12 single crochets across by 15 rows. So what you're going to do is you're going to chain 13 because you're going to be starting in the second chain from the hook. So you'll chain 13 chains, you'll turn, and you'll begin stitching 1 single crochet in each of the chains across so that you have 12 single crochets. That's what that's talking about. All right, so you want to have rows of 12 single crochets across. Then you're going to do that for 15 rows. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 rows stitched here. All right, so what you would do is you'd stitch your first row of single crochet, chain 1, and turn. Your chain 1 will not count as a stitch, and you'll go right in that next single crochet, and you'll stitch 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets across. And you should end up with about a square. All right, I'm just going to work this 1 row across just to give you an idea of how to do it. 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets across, and make sure to count that you have the right number each time. You want 12 single crochets, chain 1, and turn. And you would repeat that for the amount of rows needed for that swatch. And we're doing the Red Heart Super Saver, and it told us to make 12 single crochets by 15 rows. And then once you make that swatch, and I really encourage you to get out some of your worsted weight yarn that's a medium, like Red Heart or I Love This Yarn, or any of the yarns that are a medium number 4, and practice making a swatch. Okay, so once the swatch is made, this one doesn't have all 15 rows, of course. We just have 12. Lost one of my hairs. There we go. And then you're going to want to measure. Now, I have this old, see if I can do this right, metal Susan Bates gauge, and I don't really like to use it, and especially on video because of how the light flickers with it. And you don't have to use this. It's a nice way to do it, but you don't have to. All right, what you can do is just get your regular old ruler. This one is one I've had for a long time. It came with the kit from the Crochet Dude. And what you're going to do is you're going to measure. So here's the beginning of my inch, and my swatch should measure 4 by 4. So my 12 single crochets measure approximately 4 inches. That's correct. Now, I'm supposed to have 15 rows of single crochet, but I only have 12. But I'm going to measure anyway. And so I'm going to put it right here. And you can see I don't have enough because I didn't do enough rows. But that can tell you if you're stitching tightly or loosely. Let's say, I'll stretch it out just for fun. Let's say I went to measure this and I'm way over, like a whole half of an inch maybe. This is a quarter of an inch because I stretched it, but let's say I'm off a whole inch, a half of an inch. That would tell me that I'm stitching too loosely and I need to tighten up my tension. All right, well, let's say I already had 15 rows here, which we know that I don't because I only did 12. And I measured and it came out to just 3 inches. And I'm like, but I stitched the right amount of rows. That tells me I'm stitching too tightly. And it's a good idea to do this, especially if you're new to crochet, because it can give you an idea how you stitch and how you can add or subtract rows or stitches so that it measures correctly. All right. And I'm going to tell you, I don't always make a swatch. I'm ornery that way. Well, I used to, when I was first getting back into crochet after a few years, every yarn I would buy, I would make a swatch. And it would tell me, and I am normally a very loose crocheter. And I've said it often, I'm a loose hooker. And I do tend to be over about 1/4 of an inch. And that's not too bad. Let me grab a quick sip of my coffee. The thing is, a lot of things that you crochet, say a shawl or a scarf, a bag or something, if you're off by 1/4 or a 1/2 inch, a lot of times, it's really not that big of a deal. And you can adjust, if you see, a good example is you're making a poncho, okay? And you've got the neck made and it's just drooping like crazy. And you're like, this is huge. I am not going to be able to wear this. Don't go ahead and make the whole poncho. What you need to do before you get farther on and get frustrated is to start the poncho over and tighten up your tension. If you slide it on and you can't get it over your head, but the pattern says it should measure, say, 19 inches or something, then your gauge is too tight. Don't go ahead and make it and get frustrated. Take it off, because I'm sure you put it on to measure, right? Take it off and loosen up your tension. Because it's very important to understand, everybody crochets differently. Every designer crochets differently. I have a lot of friends in the crochet community that crochet way tighter than I do or crochet way looser than I do. And as I've learned to measure as you go, I don't get so frustrated. One of the things that my throat is so dry today. Sorry about this. One of the things that I got a lot of comments on was my summer bucket hat. And I don't know if some of you have made it, but it is intended to be a loose summer hat. It's not intended to fit tight on your head. But there's a couple of things to remember. First of all, everybody does crochet differently, like we've said, but everybody likes their hats to fit differently as well. If you want it to be a little tighter, you can always go down a hook size or tighten your tension. If you want it to fit looser, you can go up a hook size or two and loosen your tension. That's where it's so important. I say this over and over again. Measure as you go. Don't make the whole garment or the whole blanket or the whole whatever you're working on and get yourself frustrated. Measure, 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 measure. Remember that, like Marsha, 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 Marsha. It's measure, 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 measure. And I learned this a long time ago. And I have to tell you, when I was 15 or 16 and I was first learning to crochet some 4 years ago, the book that I had was from the 1800s. And I got it from the library. And one of the things that they stressed in this book was to measure everything. Every little thing, every little pot holder and granny square and everything, measure and learn to block. And those are two things that I have kept with me. Because crochet, I say this all the time, it's an ever-changing art with new yarns, textures, fibers, and stitches. And sometimes they're just recreated in new ways. And so a lot of crocheters, when they're first starting out, get frustrated because things don't fit. And so, I guess, I don't know how that stuck with me after reading that book. And I was so excited because I did find it online and I was able to download it in an ebook. And if you look for it, it's called, I think it's 1869 Ladies Crochet Handbook, I think is what it's called. And I was able to download it in a PDF file for free because it was, you know, really, really old and out of print and stuff. And if you find it, get it and read through it. It is some of the neatest stuff. And it's so funny because a lot of things that people are like inventing now were invented way back then. They just had a different name. And so it's super fun. So anyway, bottom line, your tension is how tightly you crochet with your crochet hook. And your gauge is the result. By making a gauge swatch, it will tell you if you're loose or if you're a tight crocheter. And those are good things to know. All right, I hope that answered your questions. And if it didn't, remember, you can always send me a question, and you can always answer or ask a question on here. Oh, Amanda says today is her sister's birthday. Well, happy birthday to your sister, Amanda. Let me pop through here, see if anybody else said anything. Dawn says she's a loose crocheter also. She also says scary movies make her crochet faster. They do me too. I don't really like scary movies though. But even intense movies, you know, where things are happening, or detective type movies, and the music is, you know, I crochet tighter and faster. All right. Jennifer says she doesn't check her gauge and she had to teach herself to loosen up. And that is true. One thing that can happen if you are too tight of a crocheter is you can cause tension in your back and in your neck. All right. So, you know, Tina Louise says, confessions of a crocheter, I don't check gauge. The thing is, once you have an idea of how you crochet, it's not as important to check your gauge. And there's a lot of patterns that the gauge doesn't really matter. But when you want something to fit right, or you want it to be a specific size, that's when the gauge and the tension is important. All right. I know I don't always check my gauge either. And a lot of it is I've been crocheting for a long time, so I kind of have an idea of how that particular yarn is going to work up. All right. So that's our chat for today. And I really want to encourage you to just practice one gauge swatch. And I want to see a picture of it. Excuse me. What I'd like you to do is to do the one that is 12 single crochets. Let me look at my paper here, by 15 rows, and make a gauge swatch and measure it, and then post it like underneath this video, or even just on my Posh Pooch Designs page, because I'd like to see, you know, how you guys crochet, if you're tight or if you're loose, or how you crochet. I would really love to see your gauge swatches, because I think it'd be a lot of fun even for you to understand how you crochet. All right, and I would love to see them. So post them. You can post them anywhere on my Posh Pooch Designs page, or under this video, or wherever. I just really would like to see them. All right, let's talk about what's new this week at Posh Pooch Designs. Now, we have 2 videos that we did. One of them, we went ahead and redid the Uncle Sam's hat. And I love these. They're so much fun. You can use it for a photo prop. But you can also use these for decorations. I took pictures of my dogs wearing these. I mean, they're a lot of fun. And somebody said they made it, turned it upside down, and used it for a can cozy, which is a really great idea. And it goes along with what I talked about last week about thinking outside the pattern. All right, and if you'll notice, I got some stuffing in mine. I wanted mine to hold their shape on the table when I decorated for Memorial Days. And this is good for 4th of July too. And so I just added a little stuffing to help them hold their shape. This is called Uncle Sam's hat. Has lots of uses, and they're a lot of fun. And even if you want to use up some of your leftover yarns, you could. All right, so that one we did. That one we updated the pattern on the blog and updated the video, so it has a brand new video. And then this one is a brand new pattern. And this is my star-shaped washcloth. And it also makes a really nice doily. And if you want to make it into a hot pad, make 2, put them together, and single crochet around the edge. And then you have a nice thick hot pad or pot holder that you can use. All right. This is the one that we did with the cotton from Premier Cotton that had kind of an antique look, and it's my favorite now. So, and I really, if you're going to use it as a hot pad, I really, really encourage you to put two together and single crochet around the edge so you have a nice thick hot pad or pot holder. And the other question I get all the time when I do washcloths and things like this is, can you do it with acrylic yarn? Now, this makes a great decoration. You could make a bunch of these for the 4th of July or Veterans Day or whatever and hang them up. And then, but when you're making them to use as a hot pad or something like that, I really recommend cotton yarn. If you're going to use it as a decoration, and even some people really prefer acrylic for washcloths as well. And so if you're going to use it for that, acrylic is okay. But I say this all the time, I really encourage you not to use acrylic if you're going to use it for something that you're going to pull right out of the oven or right off the stove. Acrylic is basically plastic, and it will melt, it will get hot, and it will burn you, okay? That's my opinion. And remember, this is just my opinion, and things may work better your way. And so keep with what you're used to doing, and take my opinion with a grain of salt. Because it really is. It's just my opinion and my thoughts. All right, now I wanted to show you some yarn. And then I'll let you go, okay? I don't want to keep you too long today. I went to Hobby Lobby, and I was looking for, is when I went and got the Premier yarn that I used the other day. And these, let me grab those so I can show them to you. I really like them. They're these 3 colors. I said Premier. They're not Premier yarn. They are Crafter's Secret from Hobby Lobby, and it's a nice thick cotton yarn. And I liked it because it had kind of Americana, kind of a antique look. All right, and I've got a few more things I'm going to do with those. But when I picked those up, I kept saying Premier. I knew it wasn't Premier. It's Crafter's Secret Cotton by Hobby Lobby. Anyway, I walked down the aisle and I noticed this. Isn't this gorgeous? This is a cotton yarn. It's called Sugar Will Cotton. I was going to see if it's 100% cotton. Let me look on here. Yes, it's 100% cotton, and it's 5 ounces. I think it'll make a gorgeous bag, which is what I think I'm going to make with it. Greens and purples. I love that. It reminds me of grapes or a vineyard. Excuse me. All right, now this one I also found, it's 97% cotton, 3% metallic, because it's a sparkle. Isn't that gorgeous? This one is called, where's the color? This is called Twirls at Twilight. Let's see, what was this one called? This one's called Be Still My Tart. Isn't that cute? Okay, this one was called Twirls at Twilight. Isn't that beautiful? I just think it's just gorgeous. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet. It's got a little peach in the center too. I want to show you that. Isn't that gorgeous? And it also has 5 ounces. So there's a couple now, and I wanted to tell you, I noticed that some people are finding some clearance items at Hobby Lobby, just in their yarn. You know, a few months back they redid their crochet hook aisle, and I got some really good deals on some crochet hooks and some other things. And I noticed in a couple of the groups that I'm in that some of the bloggers are saying Hobby Lobby's getting ready to have another big yarn clearance sale. I haven't been there yet for that particular one this time, and so I'm going to swing by there probably tomorrow or the next day, depending on what's going on around here. It's been total craziness. And so I'm going to let you know if they're having another big yarn clearance sale, okay? Because I do love their yarn. I love all yarn. I'm not particular. I love the teeny tiny yarn all the way up to the thicky chunky yarn. I just can't crochet with the tiny threads anymore because of the arthritis in my fingers. So anyway, that's what's happening this week at Posh Pooch Designs. Somebody mentioned it's about time for me to do another dog project, and I was thinking about this sparkle yarn, wondering if I could make something, you know, that I call it a mommy and me, that, or maybe a daddy and me, that dog and, owner. So I've got kind of an idea with that. So anyway, I hope that you'll make that swatch. And you'll post a picture on my Posh Pooch Designs page on Facebook. And if you can't find it, it's just put in your search when you go to Facebook, just put in your search at the top, Posh Pooch Designs, and it'll come right up. And then you can like the page, and then you can just add a picture. And one thing you'll find is that the picture won't pop up immediately, because I had some problems with some inappropriate spamming, and so I had to turn off some of the automatic pictures, and so I have to go in and just approve it is all. But I will, because I want to see, maybe I'll make a link or a picture that says show me your swatches, and then you can post underneath that. I'll just do that. That'll make it a lot easier for you guys. But I want to see your swatches and how it comes out, because you can learn a lot by doing a swatch. All right? Especially if you're a new crocheter, but even if you're an old crocheter like me, a yarn swatch will help you a lot to understand how you crochet. And, and a lot of it, something I didn't talk about, a lot of it has to do with how you hold your crochet hook. There's the pencil hold and the knife hold, and then there's the weird way that I do it, because I don't do either one of those. I have a weird way of holding it. So, and if you watch my videos, you'll see that. So anyway, that can also determine how tightly you crochet or how loosely that you crochet. All right, I'm going to let you all go. I'm so glad to see all of you here today. Thank you for being a part of Posh Pooch Designs, because like I say, I can't do this without you. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye now.